What do you say, Dimitri? Should we get to the news?
Sure.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. North and South American, all the ships and clippers at sea. Let's go to press. Fly.
Game news.
First up in game news, we have information about Tim Fowler's next game is going to be a sequel. Burgle Brothers 2, The Casino Capers, is coming out, which he co-designed with Jeff Krause. It is a cooperative game where we are all robbers on a team. In Burgle Brothers 2, we're going to be taking down a string of casinos during the day, which is, I would love to see. The old one was a kind of an office building, like a high-tech office building with valuable stuff.
Is it the 60s casino?
They have motion detectors and things like that, so I guess it's probably not the 60s. I guess it's modern day. But each character has their own special ability. You can get equipment that increases the things that you can do. There's wonderful things like you can get into an air vent in one room and it'll come out where the air vent is on a whole other floor and gives you just a quick access. Very fun game. I played it with my kids a lot. I don't think it's just for kids, though. I think people that are more on the casual side of gameplay, I think it's probably one of the more fun cooperative games I have ever played. Moving on, let's talk about Fallout Shelter. Is a board game from Andrew Fisher and Fantasy Flight. Fallout Shelter was a pretty famous mobile game.
Tom, I still remember the LARP you did for Maddie's bachelor party. That had a similar theme. It was really terrific.
The bunker, yes, the bunker was great. This one, however, is sort of adjunct to Fallout, the video game. Right? There are 4 editions, hugely popular. It's one of my favorite video games. Fallout Shelter was sort of just a small little. You're in a bunker. Bad things are coming in at you, and it's sort of a defense game where you're trying to protect the bunker from all the hazards that would come in.
What's interesting is that this game is not the only radiation-themed game in the news this week.
What's the other radiation-themed game in the news?
Isn't there a Zona game about Chernobyl? Or am I imagining?
No, there is. There absolutely is. Let's talk about that in a second. Patchwork has an Americana edition coming out. I will tell you the Americana edition has nothing new to it except the artwork. It is just using an American style art of quilting. I think it's looking. There's not a lot of art for it, but when I look at it, I do think it looks more shaker. I don't. What about you, Dimitri?
I want to. I want to learn because, patches are interesting to me, and collecting fabric and putting it into a pleasing pattern seems nice and relaxing and creative.
Let us talk about... Lately, there have been these games that have been coming out that have just amused me, the very concept of doing this game. Betrayal House on the Hill was a famous... one of those very first games in which you are you're playing a role-playing game as a board game. Well, guess what? Scooby-Doo, Escape from the Haunted Mansion, is a Betrayal at Mystery Mansion game. And basically, it's Betrayal on the Hill set in the Scooby-Doo universe. And
Tom, how can you make a game when you know the groundskeeper did it? I mean, that's just, you win. It's the groundskeeper.
I mean, I'm guessing that you're going to have a number of adults that it could be, right? Is it the groundskeeper? Is it the guy who hired you to go and clear out the ghosts? Is it the sheriff? Is it there should be a bunch of characters that it could be. Jinkies, I'm excited about this game. It is going to be from Avalon Hill. Rob Davio, Banana Chan, Noah Cohen, and Brian Neff are the creators of this game. Banana Chan. I got to know more about this person. We'll look it up sometime. This game is supposed to come out in May 15th, 2020. So coming right up the same day, a Warner Brothers movie called Scoob comes out with an exclamation point. Comes out onto the big screen.
I've seen the trailer so many times already.
I mean, I do think it's really interesting that Jaws, Top Gun, Scooby-Doo, it used to be that branded content in games generally was a bad sign, with a few notable exceptions. Battlestar Galactica being one of the seminal games of all time. Dune.
Yes.
But most
we played Battlestar we wore it out basically.
Tons of
and
times.
now it's out of print and you can't get it. And
Exactly. But most games, I mean, the majority of games that had branded theming, we never played because we knew before we even got to them, the reviews were in and they were just, no, this is just a cash grab. I love that these older licenses are being picked up and are being turned into kitschy, fun, interesting games. Prospero Hall is making a living out of doing this, and now to see that Avalon Hill is getting on the bandwagon and doing that, I just think it's fun. I love that they're taking what used to be a very cynical play and they're turning it into something fun. Well, you talked about Zona: Secret of Chernobyl. Why don't we talk about it? It was a 2019 release, but it is now widely available. It's an adventure board game for 1 to 4 players, and we are trying to reach the sarcophagus of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Dimitri, have you seen, other than the television show Chernobyl, have you seen any of the videos of people or the shows where people go into the exclusion zone?
well, I lived 60 kilometers from Chernobyl, so
It explains a lot.
We
And
left.
how many years after the disaster did you leave? I think it was like 7-8 years after.
I still think I'm still there, and all of this is my hallucination that's been radiation induced. I've seen a lot of photographs. Everything to me looks like the Tarkovsky movie Stalker, and also like my childhood. So I find those videos and photographs strangely comforting and kind of soothing. Like, these are the playgrounds of my youth.
If you like questing games where you're racing against other people to get to a goal and there are hazards in your way, this is a really interesting take on that, right? It's not a fantasy realm. It's we're using something something real.
It's also deeply offensive to my
that's kind of what I wanted to,
Ukrainian brethren and sistren.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you about. I mean, it's a very unique idea, but is it trafficking in tragedy? Is it making fun of something we shouldn't make fun of? We've had conversations about Secret Hitler. We've had conversations about other games of that kind. Where do you are the closest to this of anybody? You were 60 miles away from there. Where you
60 kilometers, Tom.
Oh, I beg your pardon. That's 40 something miles.
Yeah, I don't know. The answer is I don't know. The Ukrainians are white. They're the Scythians, of course. The Greeks knew of them.
Mm-hmm.
So as white people, they're fair game. But they suffer. Do they not bleed when we prick them?
I think it's dicey. I think it's a dicey topic to
Don't
make
say that around
the
Trey.
game about. The only thing I would say is that it's not about the tragedy itself. It's about going into the exclusion zone after the tragedy. So it's not really trafficking in human misery per se.
Yeah, but it's also whitewashing it away, ignoring the misery. It's using an event of great misery for fun. Watch Tarkovsky's Stalker. It was made 7 years before Chernobyl. It is about Chernobyl.
It's about an exclusion zone. Yes.
It's called, it's about an area called Zona. And it kind of forecast Chernobyl. In fact, Chernobyl was a remake of Tarkovsky's Stalker in real life.
Okay, now you've gone
the
too
Soviet
far.
government.
Now you've gone too far.
Yes. So, but ultimately, I don't know. Je ne connais pas.
Dimitri, did you hear that?
I'm hearing that. What is that?
That's the sound of Maddie giggling like a little schoolgirl.
Because I admit to not knowing something?
No, because on Kickstarter this week, do you want to know how many games have a solo mode? The Ming Voyages, Endogenesis, Heroes of Tenfear, Tumbletown, Night Lancer, Stormsunder, Heirs of Ruin, Ark Awakening, Ruins Deathbinder. By the way, almost all of these have a colon in them. By Death NC, Night Tales, Astroforce, the Dice Game. All of these are currently on Kickstarter. Every single one of them has a solo mode.
We will never see Matt come back, will we?
Matt has won. He has won life. He has won. We have lost. His favorite trend, which is the proliferation of solo modes to expand the play of games, has completely taken hold and is just rampaging through the
Tom,
hobby.
can anybody write a solo mode for a game and market it, even if they're not connected to that game, or do you have to have the intellectual rights?
The etiquette of it is that what you could do is you could post a variant on Board Game Geek, but the real etiquette is contact the publisher, contact the designer, and say, "Hey, I made this little solo mode or this little thing. I was going to put up the variant, on your game, and I was also going to put up the files for it so you could print out whatever things you need to print out for it. I wanted to ask you if you're okay with that. I don't want to ruffle any feathers." The Manifold. There is a new media outlet that is going to be about tabletop games. It is the brainchild of David Somerville. David Somerville created Vast, the Crystal Caverns. And I didn't know this, but the creator of Vast, the Crystal Caverns was the former creative director at The Atlantic.
Oh,
Isn't
that's a magazine.
That is a magazine.
And Manifold is a magazine, right?
And it is it's
multimedia platform like The Atlantic.
Exactly. So really looking forward to this. It's great to have a slightly larger vision for what games media can be. I think it's about time. I think our hobby has grown to the point where this could be a very, very successful venture.
When we're out of ideas for the podcast, we can just read it on the air.
We just repost things that they say.
Or just read them aloud. Tom Donnelly reads the latest Manifold issue. I would actually love to hear you read a lot of things.
You're too sweet.
Your baritone is unequaled.
Thank you, Dimitri. Chronicles of Crime. We reviewed it last year.
Jesse did, yes. And you, I believe.
Jesse loves it.
Or was it Jesse and Matt?
It was Jesse and Matt. It was Jesse and Matt. Me personally, I thought that it had a lot of potential. I thought that the AR aspect of the game was brilliant, and I thought that it was just not quite as good as Detective and some of the others that were coming out of the same ilk. They are doing something pretty crazy. They are putting out not one, not two, but 3 expansions / new versions of Chronicles of Crime.
That's what it's there for,
next
right?
year. It is, but check this out. They're doing Chronicles of Crime 1400. Maybe it's Mysteries of the Abbey. Maybe it's a little Name of the Rose.
And you also get visions from God about who the murderer is, in addition to interviewing people.
Mm-hmm. Chronicles of Crime 1900. So Sherlock Holmes era.
Edwardian, sure.
Gas lamp. And Chronicles of Crime 2400. Pre-crime.
Oh, Caves of Steel, the Robert Asimov robot detective novels.
I don't actually think it's pre-crime. I do think it is. You have a pet that's called Cyber Raven that can analyze evidence for you and stuff. Listen,
Nevermore will you solve this murder.
That is a Edgar Allan Poe pun from our Dimitri Portnoy. Thank you so much.
I wouldn't really call it a pun.
I wouldn't call it anything. I'm going to see if we can edit that out.
Oh, please, Tom, don't.
No, of course
If you
I
edit
wouldn't.
out all the stupid things I say, we're not going to have a podcast at all.
They're not stupid things. They're just painful. They're just painful sometimes. Tang Garden, we'll just talk about really briefly. Tang Garden, if you liked Carcassonne and wanted to have it in a different setting, that's pretty much what Tang Garden is. It is a pretty tile-laying game with a multitude of ways to score points. It's by Francesca Testini and Pierluca Zizi. I hope I said that right. It is out now. Take a look at it. Interesting story in the news. Have you heard the game Dogs and Pigs, Dimitri?
No.
Well, it just so happens that Dogs and Pigs, but that's what the archaeologists are calling it. It was an ancestor of chess, and it is the oldest game ever discovered. It was found in 2012, I should say. All we found are the pieces from it. But
the minis.
In 2012 they found some pieces, exactly. And now they have
A complete set?
uncovered a complete, what they believe to be complete set. Now they don't have the board because whoever,
it deteriorated.
whoever
it
this guy,
rotted away.
whoever this
made
guy
from
was,
wood.
he didn't laminate. You should always laminate if you have.
Especially if you take it to the grave with you, which is what happened in this case.
Exactly. This game dates between basically 3000 BC is when this game came out. It is crazy. And they have now found all of the pieces to it. Do you know how many games I still haven't found all the pieces for?
Oh, I have a way to market this game.
How do you do it?
The game that Jesus played.
Bonfire. Bonfire is
Sure.
a game that if you look it up on BGG, you will not find it yet. But we have received word that Stefan Feld's next game is going to be called Bonfire. Looking at what little information we can have about the game, when it was in development, it was a South American theme, and now it is a fantasy theme. It is gnomes on a planet where the life-sustaining bonfire has gone out, and they're trying to petition the gods to bring it back. It has a very interesting polyomino effect in which you are taking polyominoes, adding them to a board, and each polyomino appears to have about 3 different segments to it. And I believe as you add it, you're going to be able to activate those segments, maybe all the segments in a row or in a column or something along those lines.
It looks absolutely beautiful.
It looks gorgeous and it looks complicated. Don't know what it is yet, but I'm dying to check it out. It looks really, really cool.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.